Thanks to all the hardworking drivers across the U.S. from the Allen Len Company.
Welcome to Trucking with OOIDA. I'm Ashley Blackford.
And I'm Scott Thompson. Ashley, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing just fine. Got a good one for everyone today, Ashley, as we continue to celebrate Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Here in a few moments, we're going to get Jay Grimes, OOIDA Director of Federal Affairs, on the line. He is one of the many people who ventured out of Washington, D.C. earlier this week for that event hosted by the Department of Transportation in New Jersey in celebration of National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Again, Jay was there alongside a number of folks from the industry, truck drivers, a whole host of people there. OOIDA President Todd Spencer was there, meeting and talking with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. So we're going to get an update on how all of that went, along with details, and I think this is maybe the headline out of it, is that hours of service, those two hours of service pilot programs that the DOT announced earlier this week. Some interesting possibilities there that we'll get into with Jay. And then we're going to get Harry Smith on the phone.
Yes, yeah. OOIDA board member, the son of Doug Smith, who we spoke with a couple of weeks ago. Just a really interesting family. We're going to ask Harry, about his life growing up around trucks, and he very much has a passion for them. Just how that all came to be, and also curious to ask him, when we talked to his dad, he had a small role in Sandlot. So I'm curious to ask Harry about if he remembers that, and also his dad's time on reality TV. So lots of questions for him.
A very small role.
Yes, extremely small.
Very small role. But
still cool.
Still very cool, yeah.
More than we can say.
And he's actually got an IMDb page,
Doug
Smith
crazy.
does. We'll talk to Harry about all of that. Looking forward to it. Before all that, though, Ashley, should we get to some news?
I can't see a reason why not.
All right, there you go. We've got permission. So let's turn back toward Washington, D.C. here for a moment, where the Senate at some point in the near future is going to take up the nomination of Derek Barrs to lead the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. You may recall his nomination did pass out of committee. He is just now waiting on a vote within the larger Senate body there. And on Tuesday, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association once again expressed support for Barrs' nomination in a letter to Senate leaders John Thune and Chuck Schumer. OOIDA noting in that letter that Mr. Barrs' experience as a law enforcement officer will prove valuable in that role at FMCSA, saying that experience would help him address some of the glaring issues that we know are out there, some of the more complex issues that are in trucking right now. Driver training, English proficiency standards, broker transparency were a few of the issues that OOIDA mentioned in that letter. The association also said that getting Barrs at the helm of FMCSA sooner, again, rather than later, would help the DOT advance some of those pro-trucker initiatives that we talked extensively about a couple months ago, earlier this summer. So we'll keep an eye on that. OOIDA kind of putting some pressure to get this thing moving so we can get someone in the FMCSA chair, the head slot there.
Yeah.
As of right now, though, no vote planned on Barrs' nomination, at least not one scheduled. But we are getting closer.
Traffic deaths are down 8% in the first 6 months of this year. This week, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reported early estimates that show 17,104 people died in car crashes across the country between the months of January and June. What's interesting about the decline is that vehicle miles traveled increased in these past 6 months by 12.1 billion miles, to which I shouted out the question to you.
How do they figure this out?
How do they figure this out?
Numbers, Ashley.
I know. I actually reached out to Charles Sperry with the OOIDA Foundation, and he had a very simple answer. They get data from the Federal Highway Administration. They have traffic counting stations across the U.S. So
there you go.
The more you know.
The more you know. But good news there. I mean,
it is,
that traffic obviously still too high.
Still too high, but this actually represents the lowest mid-year fatality rate since 2014. So we're headed in the right direction.
Yes, we are. Need to go a lot more in that direction.
Sure.
But yes, that is good news overall, I think there. Interesting study to tell you about here from the International Council on clean transportation regarding the price of Class 8 battery electric trucks. Some of this is going to reinforce what people already feel and think about battery electric trucks. But what this study shows, this report here, if you read between the lines, it really portrays a market that is facing a number of obstacles, again, many of which we know about already. But the long and short of this is that the price of a model year 2025 Class 8 battery electric truck in the United States is 27% higher than a model year 2020 truck of the same kind. So the price has gone up over the past 5 years, as opposed to when we see things like this technology, the price usually comes down. So the median price of a Class 8 battery electric truck in the United States now sits at more than $411,000, while the median price of your average diesel Class 8 truck is much less, around $172,000. Wow. All of this coming as the price of electric tractors in Europe, actually, the same equivalent models, has actually gone down 32%. So the researchers looked into this, obviously, didn't really have a concrete answer for why the cost is lower in Europe, but did cite manufacturers in this study who said that higher raw materials costs and higher U.S. prices might be a reason there. There's, again, this whole host of other issues with the United States and battery electric trucks, one of them being the longer driving ranges. We've talked about the lack of charging infrastructure and the slow adoption of electric trucks in the U.S., all kind of playing into this here. But certainly an interesting study. Again, when you look at this push that we've seen in recent years for especially battery electric trucks, the reality doesn't quite match up with the ambitions right now. Some food for thought there as we ponder the great mystery of all of this.
Yes. U.S. Department of Transportation is looking for nominations for an advisory committee on human trafficking. The committee was originally established in 2018. The purpose of it is to make recommendations to the Secretary of Transportation on countering human trafficking in the transportation sector. They want members for the committee to come from different areas like trafficking advocacy organizations, of course, law enforcement, trucking, bus, rail, aviation, maritime, and port sectors, including industry and labor, to just kind of really get a wide range of different perspectives. If you do want more information on how to nominate someone, or if you'd like to be considered, you can visit the federalregister.gov and search human trafficking.
It's going to take everybody together to tackle that issue. Let's close this out here by looking at a couple pieces of legislation. One being a new bill alert from the House, actually, the U.S. House. It's related to nuclear verdicts. H.R. 5268 is the number. It's also called the Form, Accountability, and Integrity in Roadway or Fair Trucking Act. Love those acronyms.
Rolls right off the tongue.
It sure does. Fair Trucking Act. That's what we'll call it. But it would give federal courts original jurisdiction over highway crash civil actions against commercial motor vehicles involved in interstate commerce when the lawsuit exceeds $5 million. A long way, a fancy way of saying if there's a nuclear verdict possible in a civil case, you're basically going to have to go to the federal level to make that happen. The bill sponsor saying this is a common problem in trucking. Obviously, we know about this and the targeted schemes, the schemes that are targeting truck drivers. So they're saying that this would go a long way toward solving that issue.
Yeah. Another one, the list of co-sponsors for the DRIVE Act, which would ensure that speed limiter mandate proposals never come back, is growing. Senator Mike Rounds of South Dakota is the most recent to sign on as a co-sponsor. This brings the total up to 9. The DRIVE Act would bar CVSA from ever issuing a rule on speed limiters. It would take an act of Congress to change that. There's also a House version of this that's currently sitting at 22 co-sponsors. And of course, I know we've said this before, OOIDA strongly supports the legislation to prohibit speed limiters, and they encourage everyone to reach out to their lawmakers, which is made easy to do by visiting fightingfortruckers.com.
Coming up next, we're going to talk with Jay Grimes of OOIDA's Washington, D.C. office about that USDOT event in New Jersey, about that Hours of Service pilot program, 2 of them. So that's coming up right after this break.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one, That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
At Truck Stop, we've built a better load board for carriers like you. Sign up today and access over 600,000 loads on the most trusted online load board. Learn why the best in the business rely on Truck Stop to make more money and start driving your profit today.
Dispatch, I picked up that load of steel, so I'm ready to roll.
Sounds good. Remember, we're getting paid by weight, so make sure to use a CAT scale.
I wouldn't weigh anywhere else.
Forget misaccuracy when your truck on a CAT scale.
House products provide your diesel with total performance and protection. Use Diesel Defender for a full system cleaning. Start treatment early with Diesel Treat to prevent gelling all season and protect yourself from winter emergencies with Diesel Lifeline. Stay moving with House.
Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
National Truck Driver Appreciation Week kicked off on Sunday, and on Monday, the Department of Transportation expressed their gratitude at an event in New Jersey, followed by the announcement of 2 pilot programs that are being applauded by truckers. Here with the details is someone who was at that Monday event, Jay Grimes, OOIDA Director of Federal Affairs. Jay, how we doing?
Doing good. Good to be with you.
Yeah, happy Truck Driver Appreciation Week.
That's right. Once again, thank you for all the work the drivers are doing out there, the men and women who make their living behind the wheel. Big week for some folks who don't get to share their appreciation or share their gratitude each and every day like we do at OOIDA.
For sure. And yeah, that was the name of the game on Monday at this event hosted by Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. I know there were quite a few people there. Set the scene for us. Jay, tell us about this event on Monday, what it was all about, who was there, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and this was really a first-of-its-kind event, from what I can remember, hosted by DOT during Truck Driver Appreciation Week. I know in the past they've had things at the Department of Transportation headquarters here in Washington, D.C., but they took the show on the road this year at a Travel Plaza truck stop right off the New Jersey Turnpike in Cranberry, New Jersey. They had a area kind of roped off, reserved for drivers kind of making their way into the truck stop. DOT, was out there thanking the drivers. A couple of our folks at OOIDA doing the same. Really just thanking drivers for what they do and letting them know that the Secretary of Transportation, a pretty influential policymaker, was going to be on hand, wanting to hear from drivers themselves. So once he arrived, spent about an hour meeting with drivers, hearing their concerns, traveling around the truck stop, looking at the trucks that were there, and was really, I think, a productive opportunity for him to meet with drivers face to face, kind of, once again, continuing, I think, a new attitude from this administration, from this Department of Transportation, that's putting the concerns of drivers first. And we've seen this in a number of actions taken throughout this year so far. And based on what we heard earlier this week and based on some of the actions that DOT announced at this event, they're continuing in that direction.
Yeah, and we'll certainly talk about a couple of those things here in just a moment. But the event itself, and you kind of mentioned that this appreciation event was a bit different from ones that have been held in the past. Feels like it was geared more toward maybe kind of getting feedback and kind of giving a perspective to people that were there. How was it different, I guess, with the events that you've attended in the past?
Yeah, it was really the Secretary of Transportation just kind of rolling on up and meeting with about the 24 drivers that were able to stick around and talk with the Secretary. And that includes OIDA President Todd Spencer, one of our board members from New York, Mr. Terry Button, and we had a couple of drivers from the area who were able to make the trip as well. And Mr. Duffy, took no time. He got out of his vehicle, started shaking hands, interacting with the drivers on hand, and kind of was able to talk individually with some of the drivers who had made the trip and were representing some different organizations. And I think there was a common theme throughout. Certainly, one of the hot issues here in recent months, the importance of English language proficiency, concerns about states issuing non-domiciled CDLs. And I think, Mr. Duffy provided an update on some of the actions that DOT is taking there. I think we heard a couple weeks ago that DOT was really hoping to get, was aware that all states, were not in compliance with the English language proficiency, still may not be, issuing CDLs in the proper manner, and said, they've made some progress with the state of New Mexico, but Washington and California still were not, meeting the requests from DOT. I think there's going to be some critical deadlines with those states here coming up in a couple weeks. Also met with a few drivers firsthand talking about predatory lease purchase scams. I know Todd was in the ear of Mr. Duffy on broker transparency and advancing that rulemaking. We heard from some other folks on how that could be helpful in getting rates back up to where drivers can make a decent living and not having to work 70 hours a week, not getting paid for all the hours that they're on the road. So I think it was Mr. Duffy, learned a lot. I think it echoed a lot of the issues that DOT has been working on and have announced, not only on the English language proficiency front, but some other issues that were included in the pro trucker package that was unveiled in late June that we're starting to get more details on and some more substantive proposals since that was rolled out a couple months ago.
Yeah. I really can't stress how important and valuable it is for Todd Spencer, OOIDA President Todd Spencer, to be there on the ground. I was in Austin, Texas a few months ago for the English language proficiency announcement when Todd had, a number of minutes with the secretary to talk about some of the issues that we ended up seeing in that pro-trucker initiative package that came out a couple months ago. The value of that, having that conversation, having that communication line open to the person who was ultimately making decisions at USDOT about these very issues, you really can't speak enough about how important and valuable that connection is. And to the Secretary's credit and the USDOT's credit, they've been very receptive, it seems like, to a lot of the things that OOIDA has been telling him over the past several months. That's got to be super encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I think, a result, in some cases, decades-long work of, OOIDA listening to our membership, advocating for what they want to see, how, they're the safety experts out on the road. They know what's going to work. They know what's not. And being able to communicate that with lawmakers to DOT and FMCSA, can be challenging. But I think, given that open line with the secretary, you mentioned that event down in May, and then I'm not sure if it was coincidence or just happenstance that 2 months later we saw that pro-trucker package, which had 9 pro-trucker initiatives that for the most part echoed what Todd said directly to the secretary, and certainly a lot of the proposals that we've supported going back years, and I'm glad to see that DOT FMCSA is getting the message.
Well, and here's another example that I think that they are listening to what the association and others are telling them, is that on Monday we had 2 pilot programs that were announced, both related to hours of service. The wheels have kind of been set in motion since. The name of the game here is flexibility, or at least exploring the idea of allowing truckers more flexibility. Let's go over each of these pilot programs one by one, and just give us the details if you could, Jay, starting with the one dedicated to split sleeper berth time. What's this going to look like?
Yeah, and so these two provisions are related to one on split sleeper, one on a split duty provision, allowing drivers to have a once a day pause between 30 minutes and 3 hours. And this is really a continuation of the hours of service rulemaking that was finalized in 2020 that for the most part eliminated that 30-minute break, made some more flexibility on the split sleeper going to 7-3, but there was a lot of unfinished business in terms of, really reforming hours of service into more of a practical system that gives drivers more control over their schedules to let them make the decisions on when it's most efficient, most safe to drive, where they can, again, use those hours of service times in a more efficient manner. So beginning with the split sleeper, this is going to be a pilot program extending the option beyond just 7-3 to 6-4 and 5-5, something that drivers have wanted for years, and really goes back to the idea that not everybody sleeps the same amount of time throughout the day. Some people work better in different spurts of sleep, and given the challenges of being on the road, to have that more built-in flexibility, we think can really be helpful for safety, for efficiency. So this program going to be announced, and we got some formal details on how these pilot programs are going to be structured. And basically, FMCSA is going to have a 60-day comment period on both of these over the next couple of months to maybe figure out how these best can be administered. And then at some point, they're going to do a 4-month period collecting data with about 250 drivers in each of these programs, really to try and gather data to what we think is going to prove what we've been saying for years, that more flexibility is going to result in better safety. So a couple things to remember on these pilot programs. There's got to be a mechanism to collect data. What FMCSA is proposing here is I think they call it a wrist actigraphy device, basically a smartwatch to kind of wear on your person to gather data. Going to have to share surveys, meet with FMCSA staff to kind of share your experiences. But we think this is going to be hopefully a non-invasive way to give FMCSA the information where they can put out a substantive rulemaking that would implement fully the thinking behind these pilot programs. So going to be the same requirements, same kind of setup for that split duty pilot program, which again would let drivers have more control of their schedule. If they need to rest somewhere, avoid traffic, they can hit pause, and that's not going to affect their maximum driving time. So we've been supportive of these measures for years. Glad to see these pilot programs kind of get back in the forefront, because we think, I think a few years ago, FMCSA and DOT were ready to move forward with these, got held up in the regulatory process, but now we can get some of the data needed to make these changes permanent.
I guess that's my question with all of this, because how many times have we seen a study be conducted or a study launched or a pilot program launched, and it kind of happens, and then months go by, and then years go by, and then nothing kind of comes of it? Are you feeling confident that we are going to see this thing get traction sooner rather than later, and hopefully we can move on with the results and do something about it, again, sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I think that's what DOT wants to accomplish this year. I think by, some of these pilot programs, can take 3 years of data collection. This one being only 4 months, I think is going to be very focused. It's going to be less invasive for drivers to participate when you've only got a 4-month window. And I think it also indicates that FMCSA wants to see this data, gather the data, and then make a quick decision depending on that data whether or not to move forward. I think based on everything we've heard in our surveys of our membership over the years, drivers want to have these options for flexibility, want to go back to more flexible split sleeper windows. And the key thing here as we kind of move forward in this rulemaking process with this pilot program is to have drivers sign up and participate. And window's not open yet. We're going to have the 60-day public comment period. FMCSA is going to review those comments, make some final changes, and then I think sometime next year we'll open up that data collection period. And when that happens, it's really going to be critical for drivers to sign up, take advantage of the flexibility, and get this data over to FMCSA.
You know, Jay, so many times over recent years when we talk to you, we're delivering sometimes bad news or not very great news, I guess, is one way to put it. Today, again, I think we're looking at good news here, right? Not just with the DOT event there in New Jersey and the connection and the conversations that were being had, but also these pilot programs, because as you said, and I want to underline this when you said it earlier about truckers being the safety experts, and they really are, and putting faith in them to make the best decision for them and their operation and for safety purposes is what this is all about. So good news all around here.
No doubt, and this comment period is open. Encourage anyone to go in, provide their suggestions on how these pilot programs can perhaps be improved. What would incentivize you to participate? So we've got 2 months here to really make this the best possible pilot program to, again, gather that important data to prove that this flexibility is necessary, but also that it's going to be done safely.
Love it. Jay Grimes, OOIDA Director of Federal Affairs, we appreciate your time. Any final thoughts here, again, for Truck Driver Appreciation Week? You expressed your thanks at the top, but maybe you want to do it again.
Yeah, final thank you. DOT, FMCSA, clearly they're listening, and I know there's more to come on some of the positive and optimistic changes from the administration.
There it is. Jay Grimes, everybody. Jay, we appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Welcome back to Trucking with OOIDA. Scott, over the years working here at OOIDA, we've gotten to know a few of the board members here. And one of those, Doug Smith, who we recently spoke with on this show, we wanted to catch up with his son, Harry, who grew up around trucks and now is in the industry. And we are going to get him on the line now. We were talking to your dad recently, and usually when I talk to your dad, it's, about trucking, and it was about that, but we learned a lot about him. I think one of the biggest things that stood out was that he was part of the Sandlot movie, which actually got me to watch the movie. I'd never actually watched it.
Amazing. That's awesome. Yes.
Great movie.
He has an extensive IMDb database standing.
Were you around when he was part of that? Do you remember that at all?
No, I was a newborn. So I think it came out in 92. I would have been 4 years old.
Okay.
But you've heard the stories since. Did he?
Oh, yeah. It's great. I've actually gone to a great length of cost to preserve the crane that was used in the movie, and it sits front and center at our trucking operation here in Bountiful.
Wow.
We should probably reset it for folks who maybe didn't hear our conversation with Doug, but he was in, I can't remember how he said it, but Doug said he was in the movie for about a half a blink or something, right?
When I was watching it and I texted him and I was like, hey, where are you in this? And he's like, don't blink. But he's like, it's in the black and white scene. About the crane and the tub. And I was like, that is pretty cool.
Yep. So he still has IMDb credit for it, so that's all that matters.
Does he get any residuals or anything from that?
Oh no, we wish.
18 cents every 2 years or something.
Yeah, no, just the glory.
Just the glory.
Just the glory.
Exactly. So. Yeah. So you grew up, obviously, in the world of trucking. Are you fifth generation?
Allegedly, I mean, I consider myself. I'm with our company. I'm third third generation in our company, but I had great grandpa that was a truck driver as well. And it's hard to, the trucking then is so different than now, but doing the same thing essentially. So technically I'm a fifth generation trucker. I would tell people that I'm really a third generation, but I am thinking of that as, I'm the third generation of working and operating at Ralph Smith Company.
Either way, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, blessed with it. And, we love doing it. So we try to make a good time out of it.
What was it like growing up, with your dad and him trucking?
It was awesome. I would come home from school as probably not kindergarten, but definitely first and second grade. I'd come home from school. I would pick up the phone, call my dad. This is back in the day when he had a brick cell phone that had the huge exchangeable batteries in the back.
Yep.
He was at the forefront of technology in that regard. And I would call him on a cell phone. Hey, Dad, can you come pick me up? And so that was I wanted to be with the trucks. I wanted to be at our truck shop. I wanted to be with my dad out working, and because I had fun doing it. And so some days he could pick me up, and other days he would tell me he would pick me up and would never show up.
Oh, no.
And it's not until you're an adult and you have a job that you understand that struggle of, hey, I will be right there. And then as you're walking out the door or walking out the shop bay, that there's a truck pulling in with the hub on fire, and that's kind of the nature of trucking that you have to problem solve. And so some days he wouldn't pick me up, and as an adult, I now completely understand it. And some days he'd come pick me up, and he'd go put me with some of our best drivers like Cliff Seeley or Dusty Fjord or any other number of guys' names I could rattle off as a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old riding around with them in the Salt Lake Valley, building infrastructure and hauling sand and gravel. So that was the first part of my childhood. Then I would truck with my dad all the time. And then it gets to a point where then you start causing the problems because now you're mildly capable. So you're dragging a trailer across the yard with the red button pulled because you don't know that you need to have the brakes released.
Yep.
I mean, the truck brakes are released, and by golly, I can just drag this trailer around the yard and rip off 8 sets of caps. So there's that level of trucking. And
how old were you when that was going on?
I think I was 10 or 11.
10,
and,
yeah.
I remember sitting in the seat of my dad's pickup truck crying, and
because he knew you had messed up.
Yeah, I think he got after me a little bit. He didn't yell at me, but it was like, hey, you just destroyed 2 weeks worth of revenue in a few seconds. And that's back when we definitely, he was very young and I was obviously very young. So it's after, at that time, it's those consequences weigh much more heavily on you than, someone that's old and, has maybe some extra money because they've had their whole life working and putting money away. So it was a different time then. And I can remember that. I can just remember it like it was yesterday, one of those core memories. And it's not a bad thing. It's just,
that's something that sticks to you for sure. I mean, it sticks in your mind.
Taking you through the progression of my trucking childhood.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
but it all speaks to this idea that it sounds like you, obviously growing up in a trucking household, you got that bug early, or maybe you were born with it. I mean, it sounds like from the very beginning, you weren't just interested in trucks. You kind of knew, it sounds like, you were going to follow this path, down the line. Was there a point at which you were like, maybe this isn't for me, and you thought about doing something else, or was this always the thing?
I think it's always been the thing.
Yeah.
I've never thought of boy, you know what I can do better than trucking is door-to-door sales for solar roof installs. So
now we're talking.
See you later. So I never I never considered leaving. I don't know what else I would do that I could be as successful as I am in this while enjoying the job at the same time. There's very few opportunities out there that have the level of satisfaction, entertainment, fun, and compensation that trucking offers. And yeah, I think you're kind of born with a disposition to love trucking, and I will throw trains into the same mix, and excavators and bulldozers and pickup trucks. You're kind of born with it, or you're not born with it. And you can pretty well divide, the vocational industry I work in, you can divide it into two sects. There's the guys that like trucking because it's a good job, and they turn the key off at 5 o'clock and go home and come back to work the next day. And then there's the guys that turn the key off at 5 o'clock. They go home, they play a trucking simulator game, they're shopping for chrome accessories on their truck, texting you at night like, hey, boss, what do you think about, can we get me some spiky lug nuts that are 8 inches long? And it's like, no, we're not doing the 8-inch long spiky lug nuts, but I will settle for the 3-inch spike lug nuts. So you have two types of people in trucking, and I would have to say you're born with it or you're born without it. And I was definitely born with it.
Would you say you were the second of the two that you just described?
I'm like not spike lug nut guy.
Okay.
I am
Minus that.
And I'm in a position where I don't have a choice but to think about trucking 24/7 because I, have a semi supervisor role in our company, and so I'm blessed and cursed with the 24/7 is dedicated to trucking, but I love preserving our heritage and our culture in our antique truck collection. That's where my after hours passion goes, is our antique truck fleet and preserving that part of our history. So
yeah,
I'm a bit different in that regard. So not a ton of people like that.
I was just going to ask you, talk a little bit about that, because just those three words together, antique truck fleet, just sounds cool. I mean, talk a little bit about that. I think we talked to Doug briefly a little bit about it, but I don't know if we got too much into detail, but tell us about that whole aspect of things.
So I think it just started by accident with my dad when he was younger, 20 years ago. He had a mechanic who was older and had come from a different company where he had retired and came to work here. And, at the time, my dad some of the trucks that are in our collection now were our working fleet back then. It's what I call our legacy fleet, or the trucks that built our business over the course of my dad's, over the course of my mom and dad's life in the trucking industry at Ralph Smith. And so this older mechanic, I don't know if it was his idea or my dad's idea, but it's like, well, let's restore this one and paint it and make it look nice. And, that started a slippery slope. And, we probably have, 8 really well-preserved, restored historical Kenworths in our fleet. And some of them are, company-owned, and the company-owned and operated trucks that we just retired. And then some of them are arts and crafts projects that we bought and restored from someone else's working fleet. But they can all go do a job, that's kind of funny. You've got store all these trucks and keep them running and in good shape just for the sake of it. And that's definitely my, that's my spiky lug nut deal.
Yeah. It might be like choosing a favorite child or something, but I think you said 8, you've got 8, kind of antique classic trucks there. Do you have a favorite? And if so, what is it? Or maybe you got a couple favorites?
The favorite? There's
I stumped you.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges, because you've got like more modern, higher horsepower engines, and then you got really old school I think our coolest classic is our 1963 Kenworth day cab. It's a W923, and that's probably our coolest, most unique truck, just in the sense that it's, the oldest in our collection that we have, and it's right at the time change where Kenworth went from a lot of old school building appearances to the more modern, what we call an A model cab. Mm-hmm. So like around 1966, right in there, the A model cab comes out, and that cab, was still produced till 1991-ish. And so that 1963 W923 is pretty dang unique and pretty amazing. And that's one that my dad definitely got carried away, and like the interior is perfect. It's like a brand new truck. It's one of those dream truck show trucks that you look at and you go, wow, these people are crazy. Yep.
Do you take it out though? I mean, do people get to see it?
Yeah, we'll take it to a show.
Yeah.
We kind of rotate the trucks through, hey, well, what truck should we take this year? Well, let's take this one. Well, we haven't taken that one in a couple of years. All right, let's take that one. So I think this one may be making a trip to GBATS next week. So we'll see.
I will be there.
I have one. Yeah, I have one loaded on the trailer, but we brought it to GBATS last time, so probably give that one a rest and bring one of the other old Kenworths.
Love it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Now, we've referred to your dad, Doug Smith, but for listeners who aren't familiar with you and your family, what is it that you guys do?
Our backbone is hauling sand and gravel, building civil infrastructure, heavy civil construction, roads, highways, bridges, dams, power plants, and I describe Ralph Smith Company as your wheelbarrow. You own the shovel that loads it, and you own the rake that places the dirt or the rock or the sand, and we are the wheelbarrow that hauls your dirt or rock from point A to point B. And that's the backbone of our business, has been dirt hauling, sand and gravel hauling. And then since I'm 37 years old now, and I think I was probably 18 years old when my dad bought his first lowboy. He bought his first lowboy. It's a 1999 Kalin 55-ton RGN, and he bought that so that our workers could have something to do in the winter, I guess. Mm-hmm. And that was the logic. And then he quickly discovered that that's two different types of people. There's people that like hauling dirt, and then there's people that like hauling construction equipment and specialized stuff. And so with that, I think he found himself going out and doing a lot of the work himself, and that he kind of drug me along with him and taught me some of that specialized stuff, as we learned it, and we learned together. So he by no means didn't have the knowledge he has today when we started doing this in 1999, as far as like our specialized carrier and heavy haul stuff. And so now our specialized carrier work is a huge part of our business, but I will always identify our strength at Ralph Smith Company as our ability to move earth, as our ability to move sand and gravel aggregate and support heavy civil infrastructure construction.
Do you have a preference between the two? You said there were two kind of, two types of people. Do you have a preference between the two?
They're both amazing and rewarding and fulfilling. You have, with moving equipment, you have the ability to go to some more unique places.
Sure. Yeah.
You end up at top of mountaintops. You end up in the bottom of mine site pits. You end up inside of factories and smelters and
on reality TV.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that.
So you end up on reality TV.
Yeah.
Now there's some downsides to that. You have the potential to be away from home a lot, and so there's maybe do it when you're young, and when you're older, haul dirt, and you can be home every night with your family. So it's it's two different worlds, and we do a pretty good job at, walking that balance and that line. So we have opportunity in both segments of our company. So if a driver is drawn one way or the other, we are happy to entertain them.
That's good. Yeah. We joked about the reality TV, but that's one thing that your dad did do. Talk about that. And what did you think of all that when that was happening?
Because you were old enough to remember that.
Yeah.
You weren't old enough maybe for Sandlot, but you
been...
do remember this. Yeah.
Now I have to ask, which reality series are we talking about? Are we talking about his appearances on the Diesel Brothers or Shipping Wars?
I think
I was thinking
so
Shipping Wars. Yeah.
There's so many reality TV appearances. I just need to clarify which one you want to know about. But Shipping Wars, when that came up, I thought it was a great opportunity, and I shared with my siblings because my dad is a big part of our business, and we are very careful about loaning him out, if you will. Like, hey, can we afford for Dad to go do this job? Or do we want to keep him here at home so he can help us make decisions here and solve problems here? So when that came up with Shipping Wars, it was like a no-brainer. And I sold it to my siblings as, hey, this is going to be an opportunity to have our kid's grandpa memorialized in TV by professional editing crews and have this awesome journal entry, if you can think of it that way, for our, when I say our, my sibling and mine's little kids to see what their grandpa did at work when they were just little babies. So that was an easy decision to make, and we just had a good time with it. And every time we need to do a better job at this, but every time someone like, hey, you're Doug, or you're from Shipping Wars, like, why do I know you? He always takes a picture with them, and he's like, sends a message in the family chat, another fan club sighting,
That's
so
funny.
That's been the most fun part about it, is the interaction.
All these years later.
Afterward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, at least, and I don't know the frequency for certain, but it feels like, every trucking event he goes to, whether it's GBATs or MATs or, the Great Salt Lake Truck Show, there's usually one. Yeah, and that was the most recent one, the Great Salt Lake Truck Show on August 12th-ish. I right around there last month. Here's a fan from Shipping Wars. I got my picture with them.
That's
and
awesome.
When I say we need to do a better job, we've always dreamed of, my siblings and me, it's like, man, we wish we just had a button we could hit to send that super fan a full get-up of Ralph Smith attire and hats and shirts.
Yeah.
But there's not enough time in the day, unfortunately, to execute those dreams. But Shipping Wars was amazing. I wish they would have him back, but
that's what I was going to ask.
He's no good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because, they might ask him back maybe, but if they asked you, would you jump at the opportunity, or are you more like Dad, you can go handle that one?
I would love to. I don't know that's how I would spend my time right now at this stage in my life. I have 4 little kids from 1-year-old to 10-year-olds, and so to ask me to do it I would just consider it heavily and make a decision. But I would send my dad in a heartbeat. But I think he's don't tell him I said this, but I think he's too boring for TV because he doesn't. We have a saying in the trucking world, super cutthroat, rates, pricing, all of that is just so tough to compete. I like the saying, we bid a job in a mine site, and we, of course, we priced ourselves out, and we looked really expensive. And I just prefaced it to the customer. It's like, hey, I know what it takes to work in that mine site. I know exactly what it takes.
Yeah.
That is why my price reflects that. And, I price myself out of a job because I'm the only one that understands what it truly is going to take. And you learn those hard lessons, and it makes you look kind of boring sometimes when you're on TV, and it's like, guys, we can't ship this 14-foot wide dinghy on an 8.5 wide trailer because there's no substructure to support the body of the building. So we need to build a subframe and it will work. And it's like, yeah, but we don't want it to work. We want it to fall apart when we put it on your trailer.
And Doug said something like
yeah,
that too.
he
that
said they
were
wanted him to keep going.
setting him up for failure. Yeah.
These are trade secrets. We don't talk about these, but if you tell anyone, tell them not to tell anybody. All right?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
do any of your kids have the bug? Have you noticed it in any of them yet?
Oh yes. I mean, they love trucking, and they'll always come to work with me. But I have a bad habit of hijacking them and ending up staying at work way longer than what I've intended. We have my 10-year-old has a term for it. Dad, I will go with you to the shop, but I'm not getting dugged. And getting dugged is, I need your help for 10 minutes. Okay, I'll come help you. And then 4 hours later, hey, Doug, can I go home? So my kids have the bug. They're growing up in a totally different atmosphere than I grew up in.
Sure.
In a sense, it's a failure on my part. However, we're doing the best we can. My kid hasn't wrecked nearly as much stuff as I've wrecked at this point in my life.
Not yet.
But I think my 10-year-old is having the childhood and the experience and the growth that, my dad worked so hard for to provide me.
That's
and
great.
Then we pass that on. We give our kids that next step and advantage, and I hope we're doing the right things there. And
your father said something very, very similar to that. I remember when he talked to us. But it's so true. It is.
So like I grew up, my mom was working, running the backside of our business. My dad is running the trucks. My mom feels terribly guilty about it. She's, you guys grew up without a mom, and she gets, teary-eyed, and it's like, no, Mom, like, we actually are very thankful for everything you did. We have amazing lives because of you. So like, it's okay.
Oh, that's
and
good.
so she's hard on herself for that. And that's just, some people are willing to make the sacrifice and get ahead, and other people don't want to, and that's totally okay. God bless America. And so that's the, my wife gets to stay home with my 4 kids. Yeah. And I know that, my mom would have killed to have that opportunity, but it's not the reality she got to deal with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Harry, we really appreciate your time
Yes.
and just everything that you shared with us. You guys have an interesting life. I love talking to your dad. I love talking to you.
Yeah, same.
If we had a real reality TV show in our trucking operation, it would be the biggest hit ever. So,
well, if Hollywood is listening, let's
they know who to call.
Let's get Harry and Doug on the
Hollywood. Phone. Yeah, Hollywood couldn't handle us. We're a bunch of real truckers. They, we need the backwoods hillbillies with good YouTube cameras. That's who we could hang with.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
There you go,
All
Harry.
right.
Thanks
Harry,
so much.
Thank you so much.
We
appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Our thanks again to Harry Smith, OOIDA board member.
Great talk.
Yes.
Great talk. Ashley, we were just thinking about Halloween. I know we've got a little bit of time coming up, but we're bringing this up for a reason.
Yeah.
If you are listening and you have a Halloween-esque adjacent...
Anything spooky, scary.
An unexplained something you saw on the road. Anything that would kind of...
be of interest.
Bring some chills to people's spines.
We want to hear about it.
We want to hear about it. So please give us a call if you can. 1-800-324-6856 or email us at podcast@ooida.com. Those will come back here in just a moment, so you can reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah, leave us a message.
Give us some Halloween spookiness. Trucking with OOIDA, we're done for today. We'll see you next time.
Today's episode of Trucking with OOIDA was brought to you by a dedicated team of people that includes Jim Fetzer, Tennille Flick, and Kim Boren.
You got thoughts? We'd love to hear them. You can call us at 1-800-324-6856 and leave us a message, or send us an email at podcast@ooida.com, and we might just include it on the show.